When someone doesn't take care of themselves, it's rarely because they don't know how. It's usually because somewhere deep inside, a quiet belief has taken root that says, I am not worth the effort. This belief doesn't arrive suddenly. It forms slowly, almost invisibly, shaped by moments when care was inconsistent, conditional, or absent. When a child learns that love arrives only after achievement, obedience, or silence, they begin to internalize a powerful message. My needs are secondary, maybe even burdensome. Over time, this message doesn't stay in the past. It becomes the voice they carry into adulthood. The one that decides whether they rest, eat well, ask for help, or tend to their inner world. Low self-worth is not loud. It doesn't announce itself dramatically. It shows up quietly in skipped meals, postponed doctor visits, sleepless nights accepted as normal, and exhaustion worn like a badge of survival. The person may appear functional, even strong, yet inside there is a subtle resignation. Caring for the self feels optional, indulgent, or undeserved. When rest finally becomes available, discomfort often follows, because stillness brings awareness, and awareness brings up the old belief that one's existence must be earned. In the psychology of self-neglect, there is often a history of adaptation. The mind learns early how to survive environments where attention was scarce. It becomes efficient outward, focused, and responsible for others. In doing so, it forgets how to turn inward with kindness. Self-care then feels foreign, almost selfish, when someone asks, "Why don't you slow down?" or "Why don't you take better care of yourself?" The nervous system hears a question it was never trained to answer. It doesn't know how to receive without guilt. This internalized neglect shapes identity. A person may unconsciously equate their value with productivity, usefulness, or endurance. If they are helping, achieving, or carrying weight for others, they feel momentarily worthy. When they stop, an emptiness appears. That emptiness isn't laziness or lack of discipline. It's the echo of unmet needs from long ago, needs that were never validated enough to feel real. So the body is ignored, the emotions are minimized, and the soul waits patiently for permission to matter. What makes this pattern so persistent is that it often looks like strength. Endurance is praised. Sacrifice is admired. Being low maintenance is rewarded. Society reinforces the very behaviors that deepen self-neglect. And so the person keeps going, telling themselves they'll rest later, care later. But the body keeps the score. Fatigue accumulates. Resentment simmers quietly. Joy becomes harder to access, not because it's gone, but because the individual no longer believes they are allowed to receive it. At a deeper level, self-worth is not an idea. It's a felt experience. It lives in the nervous system. If care was unpredictable early in life, the body learned to stay alert, to expect disappointment, to rely only on effort. In that state, gentleness can feel unsafe. Slowing down feels like losing control. Even kindness toward oneself can trigger discomfort because it contradicts the familiar story of, I must push to survive. Healing this pattern doesn't begin with forcing better habits. It begins with a subtle shift in perception. The realization that neglect is not a personal failure, but a learned response. That the part of you that avoids care was once protecting you. It learned to endure when nurturing wasn't available. And now, that same part can be gently taught something new. Self-worth grows not through grand gestures, but through small, consistent acts of presence. Drinking water and noticing it. Resting without apology. Listening to the body without judgment. These moments send a quiet signal inward. You matter enough to be noticed. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. Old beliefs may protest. Guilt may arise. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're touching the edges of an old wound that is finally being acknowledged. As awareness deepens, something begins to soften. Care stops feeling like a reward and starts feeling like a relationship. A relationship with yourself that doesn't require proof or performance. In this space, self-worth is no longer something to be achieved. It's something remembered. You realize that the right to rest, to heal, to be nourished, was never supposed to be earned in the first place. And in that remembering, the most profound shift occurs. Caring for yourself no longer feels like an obligation, it feels like coming home.